When you have an intern in your school that's working with your student, you have this person who has worked in the real world, gone through 4 years of undergrad, gone through at least 4, 5, 6 years of a doctoral program, and now they're coming to us. They are highly intelligent, experienced, trained people that are working in our district before they graduate and they hopefully become one of our employees. And so you're getting a high-level person.
You heard that right. DCSD hosts interns on their way to becoming licensed school psychologists. So in this case, intern is like a medical doctor's residency, not intern as in takes coffee orders for the office. In fact, DCSD recently became one of the very few accredited destinations for school psychology doctoral interns in the entire nation, which is good for the district and great for our students. I'm Jason Hackett, Communication Director for DCSD, and I just want you to prepare to be impressed with our guests in this episode. We're recording this on location at Crest Hill Middle School, and I'm surrounded by 3 people who are way smarter than me because they all are or soon will be doctors. We're setting the level here. But first, I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourselves as we go around the table. And then, because we do this with all of our episodes to try to get to know people just a little bit, I used to work on a university campus, and I've been around so many professors and assistant professors and associate professors, and I've seen how much of their lives they have to devote to their specialty. And I've always wondered, do you have time for hobbies outside of all of that when you're working on your doctorate and becoming experts in your field? So that's my question for you. As you introduce yourselves, give me a hobby that you have as well.
Yeah, so my name is Joel Flores. I'm a school psychology intern. Hobbies, I DJ and I collect records.
Excellent. What genre of music when you're DJing?
I'm a little all over the place, but I really like disco and like early 90s house music.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Cool. Ryan.
All right, I'm Dr. Ryan Trowbridge. I'm a school psychologist and licensed psychologist now. Let's see. I went to the University of Colorado, Denver, and moved to Colorado actually for my hobby, which is definitely skiing and hiking. So I'm very excited for the upcoming winter.
All right. You're in the right place.
Yep, absolutely.
How many years have you been here then?
12 years.
Okay.
12 years. Yep. Thought we were only going to be here for 2 and then stayed like most people do.
Sure. Yep. Can't blame anybody for that.
I'm Dr. Stephanie Crawford Getz, and I am a school psychologist and licensed psychologist. I love skiing. I'm from Colorado. I grew up skiing on a ski team, so definitely make lots of time for that whenever I can. And then my son, who's a middle schooler, fell in love with baseball early on. And so now we do baseball whenever there's not snow and sometimes when there's snow, all the time.
Right.
It's fun, though. Really fun to watch the kids play and love what they do.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And indoors kind of sometimes in the wintertime as well? Or is there a lot of that off-season practice at the middle school level too?
There's a lot of off-season practice, indoor batting cages. Thankfully in Denver, it can be surprisingly warm in the winter too. So any chance they get to be out on the fields, they're doing it. And then for our family, we're all pretty energetic. So we like being outside in the cold.
Excellent. Excellent. And Dr. Crawford Getz, you are the Director of Mental Health for Douglas County School District.
Yes, I'm the Director of Mental Health for the school district. I feel so fortunate. As part of this role, my team and I oversee the school psychologists and social workers in the schools that are doing a tremendous job at, making sure kids are getting what they need, doing evaluations if kids are struggling, and then providing services for them. But we also do psychological safety. So all the behind-the-scenes work and direct work with kids, making sure they're safe for themselves and others. And it's a really pretty amazing job that we get to do and really fulfilling.
That actually leads right into my first question. As we're talking about this, our main topic, I kind of always want to start with why. And so let's talk about mental health in the K-12 education environment and what you need to do, what kind of challenges you run into, and what your team does.
Well, the why, personally, I've just always enjoyed working with kids. They're just so fun in the way they approach the world with their curiosity and their positivity. It's like, let's be an environment where you get that all the time if you can. And the other great thing about schools is we get to work with kids regardless of finances and insurance and truly what each kid needs. And if you're staying around long enough, you actually get to see your students grow up and leave and be successful. So it's pretty awesome to work in a school district.
How about you, gentlemen? Some of the why for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the biggest why for me is I think working with kids in a school environment is fun. I mean, I like to equate it sometimes to a really more high stakes summer camp, right? Like I'm getting to work alongside adults. It's like really fun. It's a fun environment. I mean, tonight I get to dress up like Spider-Man and be at our sensory friendly trick or treat street. So I'm pretty excited about that. You don't really get to do that with other jobs, right? So I think it's fun for me. It's a fun environment, but you also get to work with kids in the environment that's usually hardest for them. I mean, certainly there are students and kids who have, hard home lives and they need support with that. But school, especially middle school, like I work in now, it's a hard time. You ask most adults when their hardest time was in growing up, they say middle school. I'd say most of them generally do. And working in a middle school, kids, we're right on the front lines. Kids might struggle with something. They might like have issues with their friends or issues with a teacher, and we're right there to kind of help them through it. Whereas in a clinical setting, it's always after the fact. And I feel like in mental health with children, you really want to be right there in the moment working with kids. I feel like our effect size, right? The amount of impact we can have with children is the most in a school. And I did a year working in graduate school at Children's Hospital. It was amazing. It was a great experience. And I honestly just found it a little boring. I mean, you see a patient, you write your report, you get prepped for the next one, and it's kind of rinse, repeat. Maybe one day I'll go back to that. I don't know. But this is right for me now. It's fun, and you really get to have a big positive impact with kids.
Oh, yeah. The energy level in our schools,
Yeah.
especially in a middle school
Yeah.
setting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tons of energy there. Joelle, then, how about yourself?
Yeah, thinking back to like my personal journey, I can like pinpoint and highlight specific adults that were so supportive and so helpful for me, like in the elementary, middle school, and high school level. And so having the opportunity to be that for another student, I think is really important for me. But yeah, like everyone else has said, like we get to meet them where they're at. They have to come here. So, you're going to see them and you get to be able to interact with them and to get to know them and see them grow over the school year. And so that's so rewarding. I think another big piece too is getting to know the parents as well and bringing them into the picture.
Yeah.
They're just as important part of the process as we are, and being able to develop that teamwork and that collaboration between the parents, teachers, us, everyone in the building, and the student, I think is so important. And we get to do that on a daily basis. So that's wonderful.
I love how all of your answers are just leading right into my next question here. So this is great.
Sure.
This is excellent. So Dr. Crawford-Getz, the reason we're here to talk about this and what's going on in our district is really a big deal. Tell us all about this great program that is going on here.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we're very excited and proud. We have internship training programs, much like you have student teachers or you have doctors going to train and have residencies. And so we have mental health internships. School psychologists and social work internships is what our area focuses on. And I'm incredibly proud because we have a doctoral internship program. We have a specialist level program as well for our school psychologists. And then we have our social work intern program. But for our doctoral program, when you have a program like that, you have an opportunity to really make it quite special. And you're able to get on the map because you can get accredited if you are willing to work hard and meet the criteria of the American Psychological Association, and then really attract wonderful graduate students from all over the country. So our doctoral internship program, we have worked really hard over the years, and it's a long process. It's pretty tedious to make sure it was accredited since you're able to do that at that level. And so that's what we wanted. When I came into this position, the goal was within 10 years, it would be great to have an accredited doctoral internship program. And thankfully, within 5 years, we've done it. We have partnered up with Aurora Public Schools and with the University of Colorado, Denver to make a consortium. And so being able to pool our resources and work together, we have gone through the process of the application, filling out all kinds of reports to show what we're doing and how we're meeting American Psychological Association accreditation criteria, and we're giving high-quality internships to our graduate students. And then last year, they have a team that comes and they do site visits. So they visited all the locations. They talked with our interns. They talked with our principals. They talked with teachers. They talked with our higher level administrators, such as our deputy superintendent, and did a thorough analysis of our program. And then you wait a long time. It's like Christmas. So this happened in March, and we had to wait until the beginning of August for an answer. The answer you can get is really great for your application. You're not accredited. You have to try again. Nice application. You have some kinks to work out, so we'll give you a probationary or full accreditation. And we received full accreditation for 10 years, which is incredible when you're just starting out. So we're incredibly excited, and it has already helped us attract great interns like Joelle here, who's coming from Texas. And we have students that come from California and all these other states. And it really just is awesome to bring this whole different mix of people with different experiences into our programs.
When it comes to earning a doctorate, for people that don't understand what it takes to do that, to achieve that, how many years? Can one of you explain kind of the process? Joelle, you're in the middle of it, right? Maybe toward the end of it, I guess. But Can you explain what goes into that for us?
Well, first off, it takes a lot of time. And it just seems a little never ending. But yeah, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for me, fortunately. So it kind of varies by program, but mine typically is like 5 years. So 4 years of coursework, and then you have that year-long internship to wrap it up. And then along the way, you got to do a dissertation at some point, get that finished. So I'm currently in the process of writing that. Yeah, so it's a ton of work, a ton of time, but it is so rewarding. You're constantly learning. Typically in these doc programs, you're doing like hands-on field training. So I did a ton of like practicum experience in schools, outside of schools, and clinical settings. So that exposes you to different children, different students. So my program is a school psychology program at Texas Women's University, and they've done a wonderful job of just providing me with a bunch of different experiences. But along the way, you kind of figure out where you want to work, what you want to do with your life. And yeah, I've realized that schools are the place for me, and it feels right. So yeah, no, I'm excited to almost be done and hopefully be a full-fledged school psychologist.
Just in case people aren't fully aware of this process, because, we may have high school kids that might be interested in this and listening to this, so they understand this is after your bachelor's degree. And then did you go and get a master's degree, or did you jump straight to a doctorate program, or?
Yeah, so I got my bachelor's degree and then decided I was going to take a gap year, take a year off, and then go back to grad school. And that gap year turned into 4 gap years. And I finally decided to come back. And so I just went straight into the doc program.
It was a similar program for me in terms of structure. I actually got what's called a PsyD rather than a PhD. And with psychology, you can get, there's multiple different types of doctorate degrees. There, you can get a PhD or doctorate in philosophy and psychology, which tends to be a little bit more research-based, I think, is the big difference. Whereas a PsyD, they call it like a clinical doctorate. It's they usually take a year or maybe even 2 less, because you're not doing quite as much hands-on research with a professor as you would with a PhD program. But I actually did mine here in Colorado at the University of Colorado, Denver, specific school psychology program. And generally halfway through the doctorate program, you earn a master's halfway through. It's right after your competency exams, they call them, your comps. I, just like Joelle, I got an undergrad degree in psychology, worked for 4 years before I went back to graduate school. I actually would recommend that. I think it can be hard going right from undergrad right to graduate school right right to a doctorate program, I mean, you've basically been in school at that point for almost 20 straight years, right? Because you've done K through 12, 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of graduate school at least. So it can be hard. I mean, it's jarring your first time out of college, getting into the real world in terms of learning that you wake up every day, having to go to a job, the ins and outs of working with, just within the construct of a company or within a practice. And that can be difficult. I mean, if you're a student and you're going into the job world, you're working through your first summer for the first time ever. That's a unique experience. So I think it is, I think it's a good thing to get a couple years of that experience, whether it's in a psychology related field or something before you go back to grad school. So I found that to be really helpful. I found my graduate school program at least looked for that. They wanted to find candidates to go into their graduate school program that have had experience in the real world. I lean back on that experience all the time in my job now. So I would definitely recommend that for any student that's looking to go back to graduate school for psychology, whether that is clinical or school psychology, to maybe get a year or two experience in between.
And it probably helps you kind of get some distance and then focus on what do I really care about? Because going through college, you get to the point of getting your bachelor's degree, that senior year, you're just like, you're running on fumes and you just want to get across the finish line.
Yeah.
So you got to recharge your batteries a little bit and then kind of find your passion and purpose and then jump back in then.
Yeah. And I will say, so a lot of our doctorate programs in school psychology and psychology now are, you go to your 4-year undergrad and then it's a 5-year program because you'll do 4 years of coursework and practicum and then that year of the internship. And then you're going to leave, but you're not done because then you have to do so many hours, at least a year, if not a couple of postdoc supervision when you're trying to become a licensed psychologist. And then you have to pass a national licensing exam that is quite hard. And after that, depending on your state, you'll often have to also take another test for your state. That is, in a lot of states, an oral examination, just testing your competency and how you'll do to be a licensed psychologist. So a lot goes into that. Some people do, though, they do their undergrad for 4 years. They get a master's in 2 years, and then they'll go into a doctorate program. So you could be in college anywhere from 9 to 12 years when you're pursuing a doctorate. Like Joelle, mine was a PhD program. And so I also did a dissertation and did a lot of research, which is helpful. And my experience was a little different. I took more time in undergrad. So I took classes, but not always a full load. And I worked a lot of different jobs. And I agree, like having outside experience, working with a variety of adults and people in all kinds of settings really helps you approach your job as a psychologist in a different way and bring some real life experience that help you and make you strong.
Absolutely. And so then this program, talking about getting real world experience, then what goes into then hosting an internship and how you work together in the school settings then, and maybe as a follow-up then a little bit of the value of that in the education setting.
Sure. So I actually had the unique experience of Stephanie was one of my teachers in graduate school. She was a guest professor in one of our classes. So that's actually how I got to know her pretty well and just stayed in contact through graduate school. And then my final year of graduate school, when it came to internship, I did an internship here at Douglas County. I was at Ranchview Middle School with Tony Wintrip, who's one of our one of our psychologists in the district. And she, this was before the internship was like an APA accredited internship. So, I was a doctoral candidate in that internship. It was during the COVID year, which was pretty crazy. So, I had to learn the ins and outs of doing mental health services remotely, which was an interesting experience. And then I moved right from that internship program to working as a school psychologist here at Cresthill. Now, this is my 6th year here at Cresthill. And so I feel like I've gotten to grow with the internship program. And I was a supervisor. This is my 3rd year being an internship supervisor. And it's been an amazing experience. I think what's really awesome about getting to work
in the same school district that you did in your internship program is the resources and the networking you're able to do. I mean, I've been able to get close with Stephanie and different other district level psychologists or mental health people. And my network of being able to reach out for resources as a new psychologist has been incredible. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything, So if I have a question, I have an array of psychologists or other mental health practitioners who I can turn to for advice or to check my thinking on something. And I know the ins and outs of the resources, our behavioral support team, our autism support team, and I know all the people that work on them. And you learn those things through the internship program. I did 1 day a week on our autism team as part of my internship. I got chances to be on the crisis response team. And so our interns have that opportunity to not just be a psychologist in a building. They get to spend a day a week as on part of a district team or get to respond to a crisis. And so you're given an array of opportunities to really kind of dip your toes in lots of different waters, right? And so I felt really prepared in being a psychologist coming right out of the internship program. And the model we follow, this slow release model, they call it, where slowly throughout the school year, the interns gain more and more responsibility in managing a caseload and being responsible for delivering assessment information and being the point person for parents. It really allows you to build confidence. And I think that's what internship's really about. Yes, it's about honing skills and learning, different techniques. But oftentimes I've found the interns are coming right through grad school, right? So I found this with both Joelle and my previous intern. They oftentimes know theoretical approaches even better than I do because they've been in the learning. They know these things because they've just done them. And so they come in with this array of expertise that helps me as the psychologist. I'm like, oh yeah, wow, I forgot about that thing. Yeah, let's do that. I mean, just the other day, Joelle, we were talking about this different, type of cognitive behavioral therapy technique we kind of want to roll out. And so it's an amazing opportunity for them to apply those skills and really build confidence because I feel like all of our interns come out of their program ready. They're ready. They might just not have the confidence or kind of the political or professional savviness to deliver that material to parents or to students. And so internship, I think, is a lot about honing your skills while also building in your confidence and to be able to do that independently. So I've been really blessed in getting that opportunity to do my internship here in Douglas County, implement graduate in my schooling, get a job here, and now build the program with Stephanie and getting to be one of the doctoral internship supervisors. And it's just been an awesome experience. I definitely am very grateful that I've gotten to do that.
When Dr. Crawford Getz kind of first told me about this, it sounds clear that we've got, I guess, an analogy would be we've got a deep bench here in Douglas County School District with a lot of expertise here and people that can help guide doctoral candidates through the process and interns through the day-to-day and help bridge that gap from coursework, classwork into practice. And then also what you said, Dr. Trowbridge, about you kind of get this infusion of new blood and people that have, fresh perspectives or fresh awareness of techniques and new research and things like that. Can any of you comment on some of that then? Is that a fair assessment, first of all?
Definitely. For our supervisors and myself, we love being able to mentor others into our field, but we learn just as much from the intern as they're learning from us because they are bringing the new research, the new strategies straight from the university to us. And so it really improves our practices and then the whole district's practices. We're always staying up to date with what is current and best for our kids. And in this role, you have to want to always be a lifelong learner. We do get a lot of training. We do know a lot of stuff. Sometimes we're called experts. I'm like, well, we know a lot, but we're never done because the research is happening and we're always learning new things that we didn't know or finding out maybe something we did before was okay, but now there's an even better way to do it. And so it is really great to have these high-level doctoral people coming into our program and bringing that knowledge with them. And I think that's important for the community to understand. When you have an intern in your school that's working with your student, you have this person who has worked in the real world, gone through 4 years of undergrad, gone through at least 4, 5, 6 years of a doctoral program, and now they're coming to us. They are highly intelligent, experienced, trained people that are working in our district before they graduate, and they hopefully become one of our employees. And so you're getting a high-level person. I think sometimes people hear intern and they think, oh, are they just shadowing you and can they do things? They're pretty independent. They're pretty well trained to come to this internship.
Yeah, when we talked earlier about this, the question came up about an intern, and there's that definition that people, especially if you're thinking about high school and people going into college, it's like they're following around and shadowing and trying to get an idea if, well, I like this career and things like that, or they're getting coffee for somebody, things like that. At this level, this kind of intern is more comparable to a physician intern where they're on the floor and with patients, and they're like steps away from being fully accredited as a doctor, correct?
Yeah, I think that with medical school, they call them residents, right? You finish your program, you've done your shadowing. I would say the term intern sells our interns short. I mean, Joelle comes in with knowing so much. It's incredible. There are other school psychology programs where interns are the only psychologist in a building, and the only supervision they're getting is once or twice a week, a school psychologist coming in to supervise and collect their notes. And they're still successful. I think we're lucky in that Stephanie has provided our mental health department in a district level so many resources that we're able to me and Joelle are able to work together in a building to kind of problem solve together. And it's amazing. Like, we get to really, really put our brains together and really try to figure out how to best support kids. But these interns come out of school, if we had to put them in a building to be independent, they could do that. I mean, all of our interns, but especially our doctoral level interns, they come out so highly trained that I do think the term intern sells them short a little bit. We maybe call them residents. I don't know.
Exactly. Yes. The whole thing with academia and the terminology and things it may mean one thing here and it's a whole other thing over here, for sure.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest shifts I had to make, like, during the application process, because like I was stuck in the student mode. And so you did 4 years of grad school, and now I have to apply to these different places across the country. And like, yeah, I've had good training, but still, like, all of these other candidates had good training too. So I'm just going through these first couple of interviews, just like, please like me, please like me, right? And then it kind of shifted over where like, no, wait, hold on, I have things to offer them too, right? Like, it's not just them. They're like, okay, sure, we'll take you, So really being able to present that and be like, yeah, no, I know things, and I think I'm going to be a good school psychologist, right? So coming into this role, very fortunate that we do have that slow release model, because, being able to work alongside Ryan and learn all that he has to offer, but then also just like get to know everyone here at Crest Hill has been an amazing opportunity. And being able to like speak up in meetings and be able to work with students, being like, yeah, no, I do have this training. I have things to offer. I'm not just a personality hire, although I am fun, So I think the way that Douglas County has laid out this internship program and their model has been so helpful for me. And I think they're definitely doing it the right way. I have other members of my cohort at Texas Women who are all across the country, and we kind of chat about our experiences. And I definitely feel very fortunate with the way this internship program has been laid out.
And I think, Joelle, you spoke to something that I think Stephanie has done a really good job of, is it's not just about partnering the psychologist with the right intern. That is important, but it's the building and the administration of that building. We're lucky here at Crest Hill that our principal, Francesca Papalardo, really values mental health support in a school and gives interns an opportunity to have that voice. I would imagine there are some administrations that, they like to, whether it's control over their building, they like to have their people. But Francesca really, really values mental health support. So Joelle gets the opportunity to, if he wanted to run initiatives in the building, speak up during meetings. I mean, he is seen as a full staff member here at school. And it just, I don't know if that's always the case. And I think that it's been great for me here at Crest Hill when I do have interns where they are valued as a full staff member, and teachers treat them as such. I mean, Joelle goes around to talk to teachers and consult, and I cannot tell you how many times I have teachers come in at 3:30 after he's gone home, be like, Ryan, Joelle's awesome. Like, great job picking that intern. Like, I don't, they matched with us. So it's just, it's about the environment too. You got to have the right school and the right people at the school to really give that intern the opportunity to, spread their wings and use their voice.
That's a great point from the perspective of, because earning a 10-year accreditation, that says something. And then that also allows us to attract the best of the best then. Is that a correct and fair statement then too?
That's definitely correct. Accredited internships are incredibly competitive. And you have each year people who don't get one. And if they're lucky, there's a second round for a few sites that also didn't match, because it is a match. And so even after second round, not everybody gets an internship. So it's highly competitive. We are getting the best of the best to pick from. And how it works, and you should go into this a little more, Joelle, so people can understand, is, once they've gone through their whole process of application and interview, we will, as the sites, rank our top people in rank order, and the intern will rank their top programs in top order. And then just like physicians, we match. It's not one of these like call and offer a job. You match where you get matched. So it's really spectacular how it works. And we are getting such high quality people. And then, as I said, a lot of them stay, as Dr. Trowbridge did. And then they continue to do great work, and then they become supervisors, which just helps us grow this program.
How many programs like this are there just in Colorado? And then if you have any information nationwide as well?
Yeah. So in Colorado, having an internship actually in a school, doing school work, not clinical type work, but actual school psychology, there are two. There are two.
Wow.
Accredited internship programs.
Us and...
It's more rural. I can't remember off the top of my head,
Okay.
But they're kind of a part of a consortium too, where there's clinical aspects, but then there's a school aspect. So we are actually the one and only that we are all school. There's not like a clinic rotation in this. We are focused on kids in school, giving interventions to help them access their education. And then across the nation for school-based, there's 17. For clinical, there's a lot more. But if you're wanting to get experience in schools, there are not many programs.
And I think that, because I went through a graduate school program where the school psychologists and the now licensed psychologists I work with, some of them do work in a clinical setting. Some of us still do work in a school setting. And I think there's a thought, I feel like sometimes in the psychology world amongst licensed psychologists that, if you really want to work in a hospital or work in a clinical setting, that you have to do the clinical route. You have to get a postdoc or do your internship in a very clinical setting. But I found that to not necessarily be true, and not even always the best, particularly when working with kids. When I have been able to consult with hospitals or, with private practices, with psychologists that have the same credentials as I do, when you are a psychologist working in a school, you gain the knowledge of, one, how kids operate within a social setting amongst other kids, but two, how IEPs and special education works. And I don't think other psychologists know that as well. And when you are working with a kid with high-level needs or a disability, and they might have an IEP, that part of understanding of special education becomes such an important part of providing that kid the best services, that I often find private practice psychologists or hospital psychologists leaning on me about my expertise here at school. So I actually think going through a school psychology route or doing an internship or getting a couple years of experience working in a school as a psychologist can be really, really beneficial for a student or for a person that does want to make the jump to working in a school. I mean, I was lucky enough, I got to do my clinical externship rotation at Colorado Children's Hospital and some of the psychologists there used to be school psychologists, and their ability to kind of speak to what happens in a school setting and be able to support students and support children and their families and then partner with the school is incredible. So I think going through a school psychology program it really allows you to see kids from the whole lens, right? We have so much access to parents and kids where we can just support them in this setting and then translate that to the home world or maybe a clinical setting. So, we really try to partner with outside providers as much as we can. I am very grateful to have chosen this route. One, because I love working in schools, but two, I think it's provided me, if maybe 10, 15 years from now, I do want to move to a clinical setting, I'm going to feel like I really know how to best support kids.
And I can add to that. When I was in my graduate program, you can do an externship, as Ryan said. And so I did one at a children's hospital as well in Oklahoma. And I was the first of a school psychology student that they accepted for an externship. They were kind of biased in thinking you need to be clinical. And when I was done, they now accept a lot of school psychology graduate students because they were like, you're so well trained in child development. You're so well trained in assessment and intervention. And you can actually speak to parents about what their children are experiencing most of the week and most of the day and how to navigate that. And that's something that they didn't have as clinical people. So they really appreciated having this multidisciplinary team of clinical psychologists and counseling psychologists and school psychologists. And then when I was doing my postdoc work, I was working in a school, but I also worked in a neuropsychology private practice. And that psychologist was like, can you just stay with me? Because you've opened up my practice to children. And I am doing much better assessment now that I learned from you how to talk to teachers and get information from them. And she was just really excited about school psychology after that.
Well, sure, because you're able to see much more of the child's world. I think, Dr. Trowbridge, you kind of referenced that you see the environment that the student lives in for 8 hours of the day. And the student is naturally, like my kids, every kid I've ever seen, they're different at school than they are at home. The interactions with peers versus adults and all of that back and forth, you're able to kind of see almost a little bit more of a well-rounded picture of the child and then help communicate that with the parents and work through that. And as clinicians, I'm imagining that's so much more helpful than even like when they just drop in for an appointment at a private practice, because you don't get to see all that. You're kind of getting it secondhand. Is that a fair way of explaining that too?
I think that's fair. When you're in the clinical world, because I have a private practice, I currently have paused it because this is such a big role, but it is really helpful when you only get to see a student or a youth for maybe an hour a week, or you're doing an assessment and you only get to see them in your office, that you're realizing there's a whole nother world that is a huge part of their functioning to see how well they're doing or if they're struggling, to be able to access and talk to the people in that environment. And so when you have this training, you recognize it's not just about bringing a parent and a child into my office and getting their perspective, but it's being much broader and thorough to really speak to what a student is good at, what they're struggling with, and then how to support them in every aspect of their life.
In the school setting too, are you able to see more students than you ordinarily would in a private practice? Because in private practice, the parents, sometimes they have to have resources and be able to afford to go to that, versus in a public school, it's available to everybody.
That's one of the big things that drew me into working in schools is working with children who may not have access to resources outside of the schools, right? Thinking about lower SES or migrant families, like this is a place that they have to come to, right? And so I view the school as this big community resource that's available to all families. And so we get to meet the families where they're at and be able to provide the services that they may not be able to receive outside. And so that's great. And, of course, we have our counseling cases, our group counseling cases, and our testing, our evaluations. But then just seeing students in the hallway, you talk to them and you know that they had a rough start to the week, but you get to see them in a passing period, a couple of days down the road and just check in really quickly. Hey, you doing okay? And just, get to follow up with them in real time versus in a private practice where your session isn't for another 2 weeks. So you just got to wait until then. So I think that part is so important, just to build that relationship, build a rapport with the student and know like, hey, we're available. How many times Dr. Ryan and say, hey, if you ever need anything, just, where to find us, come down to the office.
When you also get unique opportunities in the ways you work with kids, right? So there was 2 years here where I was Crestill's head boys basketball coach. And now in that role, it's not like I'm providing therapy, but you get to know kids in a different way. I mean, Joel, when he sees some kids, he grabs basketball from my room, and he doesn't see kids like in a counseling office. Like, he's going out shooting hoops with kids. We've even talked about starting a soccer club here at school, and it's not that, we're going to use these clubs or sports coaching to provide therapy, right? But you're getting an opportunity to connect with kids in a different way that if you're in a clinical setting, you just don't get that opportunity. Kids see us not just as their psychologist, but as a trusted adult, someone they can come to with a variety of issues. I mean, I've even had to tell kids, hey, yeah, like, I'll come talk, you can come talk to me, but you also have your counselor here. These are kids that aren't even on my caseload because of basketball or because of just our unique opportunities. I mean, we jump in and try to do lunch duty when we can, because it's, again, another opportunity to see kids in a way that's different, that's outside of a clinical role. And it's just very unique to schools.
Well, I even saw you guys when we were coming up here to the second floor where we're recording this. As we're walking here, you're interacting with kids in the hallway and encouraging them. Just all those little things add up for kids, especially in a middle school setting, right?
Yeah.
That they're facing all kinds of things, and to have that support from you, that's amazing to see. In general, then, when you're talking about mental health, we've made progress over the last, couple of decades in the acceptance of mental health is just as important as physical health. I'm limping around on a broken toe right now, but if other people are having mental health struggles, it's just as important to deal with that. We're making progress there, but we still, I don't think, have enough people in the field and deployed right now. Is that a correct assessment? And Dr. Crawford gets, when it comes to training and bringing more people in, having a highly regarded program and kind of a pipeline to bring people in gives the district a bit of a leg up then when it comes to recruiting people and having enough staff, or I suppose maybe not enough staff still, right? Can you comment on those kind of aspects?
Yeah. There is a shortage of mental health professionals in the country, both outside of schools, clinically in hospitals, and inside of schools. And there's a real shortage of school mental health professionals as well. So you'll see many districts that have positions open for years because there's simply not enough of us. And you think about that when you think of the time, energy, and amount of money you spend to become a mental health professional. It's a bit of a daunting task. It's not for everyone. And so we have a lot less people that decide to become psychologists, go through these programs, and then come and work. And even of the people that do all that, they don't always end up using their license and degree to work in schools. The Colorado Department of Education does presentations each year about our shortage and how we can work with that. And they share that although there are people in Colorado that hold a school psychologist credential or a school social worker or a school counselor, about a third of each one of those groups, a third of those people with that credential aren't working in schools. They're doing something else. It might be clinical or it might not be in mental health at all. So that's another thing that we have to deal with. And so when you have internship programs that are high quality and you're attracting people from all over the country, you're just upping your odds of making sure you fill all your positions. And when you can train your own people in that internship year and then hire them, you already know you have a great quality person, they've learned your district, and then they stay, and then they keep attracting more and more people to come work for the district. It's good word of mouth. So that is really exciting. And that's not just for doctoral people. We model all of our internship programs for the social workers and the specialist psychologists after this accredited program. So people know that too. And so that makes people want to come to those programs also. So we're pulling all kinds of talent from the country into our district and keeping them.
A destination place for people to come and work and learn and help advance the practice then as well. So Joel, from that perspective for you, what do you see as next steps for you then?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm hoping to, survive internship year. No, it's been fun so far, and it's been a great fit. And you like Stephanie said, getting to learn the district, getting to learn all of the resources that are available is great. Getting to work along such great people and have fun doing the job is great. So it builds my confidence knowing that I can do the job, but then I'm also like where I work, right? So yeah, finishing out the internship, finishing my dissertation. We'll talk about that later.
Passing the EPPP.
Passing the EPPP. So doing all this, graduating, and then, working as a school psychologist. So I kind of alluded to this earlier. We made the move from Texas to Colorado. We're not planning on move back to Texas anytime soon. Stephanie, you described the matching process as spectacular earlier. That's not the word I would use.
Would you use really difficult?
Anxiety inducing, because you submit your rankings and then you have to wait like a month, and then you get an email at 5 a.m. saying, hey, you've been matched to this place. You got to uproot your life and move there in 3 months. So yeah, we found that. Unfortunately, Douglas County was my top choice. So wanted to be here, wanted to move to Colorado. So it worked out. So yeah, we want to stay in Colorado long term, my wife and I. And yeah, I mean, if there's a position in Douglas County available, I would definitely be open to that. Yeah, it's been great so far.
Wow, 3 months to just no idea of how things could turn out. And then
literally 2 hours of sleep the night before, just like tossing and turning, waiting. And then when we found out, it's like, okay, now we got to move. We got to pack up all the pets. We got to make the cross country drive. So
yeah, and find a place to live.
Yeah,
all the stuff. Wow, that is a lot. Did you guys have a similar experience then too?
So I did not, because I didn't go through the matching process. I was fortunate enough, Stephanie was my supervisor when I was an intern here. So I was fortunate enough to know exactly what supervisor I wanted to have. And so I kept that connection through graduate school. Stephanie and I kept in contact just about research and best practices while I was still in school. And I was in the parking lot of Keystone Ski Resort. I remember exactly where it was, and it was I think it's like 8 o'clock in the morning or something. Internship supervisors are allowed to call like prospective candidates, and it was hit 8, and Stephanie called me right away, and I was like, yes. And then I told Stephanie, and I'm gonna go skiing right now. She's like, great, that makes me so happy. so that was my finding out where I was going experience.
Amazing.
Absolutely. And we joked, and we never did it, but we're like, maybe we should do supervision on this.
Yeah, that's right.
Wouldn't that be fun? And then for me, I had the same experience as Joelle because I had gone to an accredited internship also. So yeah, you do your rankings. You can apply and interview as many as will interview you and rank, but you do your rankings and you hope you get your number one choice. And then you wait a long time, and then you find out, and then you have to move. So I also had to make the move and figure out how to do that. But it was so worth it to do that. And for these applications, it's important for people to know when you're applying to be in an accredited internship, you have to fill out an incredibly long application that's not just tell us everything about you and make sure you have all the right transcripts and letters of recommendation and a great cover letter and a resume, but you also have to write all these essays so that the sites can get to know you. And so the first process is sites like us reading through applications and weeding out people and deciding who do we even want to spend our time interviewing. So not everybody even makes it to an interview. And then after that, you interview people. And since COVID, things have been a little different. Sometimes you can do virtual, but it's not as good. So pre-COVID, long time ago for me, as a graduate student, you're spending a ton of money traveling across the country to all these accredited sites that you hope you might match at. You have to make up classwork while you're doing that. You're flying, renting cars, hotels, eating out. It's a really stressful time while you're still a graduate student trying to get your work done to go on this internship. And then again, once you interview as a site, we're then weeding even more people out and like, who do we actually want to rank? And then what order should we rank them? And we hope they feel the same way. So there's a lot that goes into just applying and getting an internship.
And through all that, eating like ramen and drinking water.
Yeah, on your grad school stipend, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, It's been great. I think what kind of added a further complication was my wife is a teacher. And so she's like, oh, now I have to get my Colorado teaching license. And she found a school, Renaissance Expeditionary School, and in Douglas County. And she's like, they do learning through adventure. This sounds so sick. And she applied as the first job she applied to. She got it. So we're a Douglas County family. So that's probably going to tie me in.
Excellent.
And I was like, do you want to move around the Denver Metroplex? And she's like, no, I'm staying at Renaissance. And I was like, okay, I got you to move across the country. We can stay in Douglas County.
For sure. And that school, I've gotten to go visit and learn about that. I mean, we've got some things from our communication department that we'll be putting out at some point fairly soon about that school and the amazing things that they do that's just different and so cool. And like, I want to go back in time and have my kids go there.
Exactly. And those things are just available in this district. And that's wonderful to see.
And again, I just want to highlight 2 of these programs in the state that you're really working in schools as school psychologists. And we're Aurora Public Schools and us, as part of our consortium, right now we're the only ones in the metro. We would love to have others join us and be an even stronger consortium. But yeah, it's pretty exciting to be the first districts to do this.
And credit to you for leading the way and all the work that goes into that. What you mentioned about just going through the applications. And I mean, that's an investment of time, and not just time, but like really seriously digging into things. But then what went into the accreditation process and building this entire program. Credit to you and your team for all of this. That's amazing.
And I want to just speak a little bit to that. Not to like super toot your horn, Stephanie, but like, I work with a lot of, I went to graduate school here, so I know a lot of school psychologists in the state. And how Douglas County has grown in the 6 years that I've been here, where increase in pay, not just for psychologists, but for social workers, and the resources, the internship that's being built, the resources that are available to us is definitely a credit to Stephanie. I mean, your mental health director in a school district drives a lot of this stuff. If they have the motivation, the knowledge, the wherewithal to kind of build these programs, that's when things happen. And Stephanie has a strong voice in our district, and where district leadership will listen to her and value her input and really help her, put into place her vision of how she wants mental health to look in the school district. And I think Douglas County is the way it is in terms of mental health and the amazing support we could provide because of Stephanie and her dedication to the practice as a whole. So thank you, Stephanie.
Oh, thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joelle. We appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to respect time. We've got like 5 minutes before you've got to move on to the next place. Since you're all clinicians and mental health professionals, do you want to end with, maybe we'll go around the table and just a PSA about mental health? What kids need to know, what parents might need to know, something that's just a valuable thing that people can take away, along with the fact that we talked about this great program and how many great people we're bringing in.
There's a million different little tidbits I like to leave families with, but I think one thing that I have loved, Joelle kind of spoke to this earlier. The one thing I've loved about working at Crest Hill is that the partnership with parents. I love the phrase, it takes a village, right? When you're thinking about supporting kids' mental health. And I would encourage parents to advocate more, reach out more, call your schools, call your counselors, call your psychologists and mental health providers and partner with them. Be opening to partnering with other mental health professionals or other adults, whether it's a teacher, a coach, a psychologist, to help in supporting your child develop. I think when I look back at my own childhood, I had amazing parents, and I was unique to have great step parents too that helped raise me. But I also think of the coaches I've had, the other adults, friends, parents I've had that were, counselors that I worked with that were able to provide me just different perspectives. And I think having a great American nuclear family where, parents help support you is a good thing, but it also takes a village. It also takes a great school community and great other adults that can really help guide your child to reaching their full potential. So I guess one thing I would love to encourage parents to do is have that trust in your school and have that, maybe it's even vulnerability to reach out to other adults and professionals in your building to, if your child is struggling, to help support you as a parent and your child.
Because there's a small army ready and waiting to help.
We're here. We're ready to go.
So totally. That's great.
Yeah, along those lines, encouraging encouraging students to find their trusted adult within the building. You may not feel comfortable opening up to all of your teachers and all of your mental health professionals, but if you can find that one person that you can go to, and maybe it doesn't rise to the level of like needing special education services, but just to have a person to talk to when you need, not just about hard stuff, but about wins and about celebrations, that is so important. So just finding that person within your building.
And I will agree. The great thing about schools and where I come from, because my dissertation was actually on helping parents learn to be the best advocates for their children, because they are. They're the experts on their children, and they're great advocates if they have support and know-how. And so our parents are our partners. They have so much to bring to the table for the success of their children. And so I think it would be important for people to hear is, just like with physical illness and injury, if there's a mental struggle, a learning struggle, that's okay, because we all have our gifts that we've been given and our struggles. None of us are unique where they're perfect at everything and they don't need any help ever, and no one's just bad at everything. We are complex people that have a lot going on for us. And so if parents can know that we're here for them, and our view of their children is that they are amazing, we have strong expectations, and whether they have a struggle or a disability, it doesn't make them less than. The kids we work with disabilities have some of the most special brains ever that can do things other brains can't do. And we need to teach our kids to be proud of who they are and that they will be quite successful. They may have things they need to accommodate and work around and learn about, just like everybody else, but they're going to go reach whatever it is they want to reach. And we're here to help them. Like in a school, we're strength-based. What are you good at? How can we help you focus on that and accommodate something that's hard for you? And go out there and be entrepreneurs and go to college, go to space, invent, and like be amazing, because that's why we're here. That's why we show up. We want the best for our students, and we can't do that without parents as our partners.
Well said.
Well said. Thank you all so much. This was such a fun conversation for me. As a former psychology minor, it probably should have gone with that. No. But thank you all so much. And thank you for all that you do, for the dedication that you have to helping students all over the place. And kudos to everybody on your team. Advanced congratulations for you, Joelle.
Thank you.
Get that dissertation done.
Appreciate that.
It's going to rock it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to DCSD Notebook from Douglas County School District, which serves more than 60,000 students, making it the third largest public school district in Colorado. With 92 schools, including neighborhood schools, charter options, and homeschool support, DCSD is a welcoming home for every style of learner. To find out more, visit dcsdk12.org. And make sure to hit the follow button in your favorite podcast app so you can get every new episode, as well as Parent University once a month, where we hear from experts within the district and from the larger community, talking about timely, relevant issues that parents face in our complex world. We're here to help you, so if you have a question and can't find the answer on our website, email communications@dcsdk12.org and we'll help point you in the right direction.